So this episode of Kaguya-sama, I am really conflicted, but not conflicted at the same time, and I know that makes absolutely zero sense. But part of my confliction in this specific episode of Kaguya-sama is just because of the flashback. If you have spent any time on the channel, if you spent time watching any of my videos, then one of the big criticisms I typically have when it comes to anime is flashbacks. I have never really been a fan of flashbacks, as I typically think that they do have a purpose and they do tend to serve a purpose, but not always. Sometimes I feel like they're just used as filler to kind of pad the time to kind of lengthen an episode or to lengthen a specific arc before it gets on to the next thing. And that's where part of my confliction comes from here, because my first initial thought was, oh my god, okay, here we go. We're about to inch ever closer to the confession from Kaguya or from Miyuki, right? So whichever way it ends up going, we're about to inch closer to the confession actually occurring, actually happening. But right before we get to that, here's some crap flashback. Now, the thing about this one specifically is I think the flashback was pretty good. I had no idea, personally, who the prior student council president was, and the person that ended up being the prior student council president, I had no expectation for whatsoever. And that actually surprised me a little, because that person definitely, I didn't have anybody in mind specifically, but the person that they ended up showing was definitely not who I imagined kind of preceding Miyuki for the student council president spot. He was definitely a very unique and interesting and intriguing character whom I do hope ends up being shown again later on in the same form of a flashback, but not before this goddamn confession. But I definitely was interested in that. And the main purpose, really, that I thought, the two things that I took away from the flashback this episode was, A, finding out kind of how Miyuki ended up getting the student council role. What was his motivation for doing that? What was his motivation for becoming student council president? And then the main purpose that the flashback really served was just how he fell in love first with Kaguya, which he got to see her, in his words, he got to see her spring to action, essentially, when nobody else would. And because he was able to see her kind of take those steps that nobody else could take, or nobody else did take, it was like love at first sight. But obviously this time it was like his third or fourth sight, because he had seen Kaguya before, just not in the same light that he ended up seeing her during this specific scene with her going and saving the girl and stuff. Then the second thing, I guess that's the major thing that the flashback did. The minor thing that the flashback did was just kind of, again, like I said a little bit earlier, giving him a purpose for becoming student council president, which Kaguya, little did we know, and it's going to be a funny story, once they do get together and he actually divulges the story, but Kaguya is essentially the reason he became student council president, because the current student council president at that time was like, oh, in a nutshell, the only way to stand next to Kaguya is by being an equal, and student council president could be an equal. So that's basically why Miyuki ends up becoming the student council president. So on one part, my confliction and the thing that I had the most part in was being a little angry at pausing or elongating the confession that's inevitably going to come in some way, shape, or form, I hope, right? The other part is, well, it did serve its purpose, and what it did serve was really well. So I really think overall the flashback, although I'm not a fan of them typically, I think this one was done pretty well. The other thing that I think is done pretty well is talking to you here. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you guys hit subscribe and do it right now, because only about 5% of you guys who watch the 20 videos I put out a week, like 8, but only about 5% of you guys are subscribed, so do me a huge favor and hit subscribe now. As the rest of the episode went on, though, we did get to see Kaguya, work in the maid cafe, and I was crying, laughing during her serving the coffee, getting bombarded and berated by these older dudes, and then her wanting to stick to the man and make them tea and really show it off. But where my laughing really came in from was when the old dude was like, this coffee or this he's like, oh, this is a cup, but he's like, this tea is made with love. He's like, it's made with love for what I can taste the one specific person you have made this for. And Kaguya during this time is losing her shit. She's losing her mind because she's like, shut up, because Miyuki was like in the corner over there. And she was like, shut your mouth. And then on top of it, right? So at that whole scene, I'm losing my mind. Then Miyuki goes and, she serves him a cup of tea as well. And he tastes his tea. He's like, as always, the best tea that I've had. And, it's like, oh, okay. And then the old guy comes back. He's like, so it was you, wasn't it? I lost it again. Like, these old dudes. But, like, that was absolutely hilarious. But I love the tension, the continued tension that is being slowly built by who gonna do it first. Is it gonna be Miyuki? Is it gonna be Kaguya first? Who's gonna jump to action first? I definitely love the tension that is being built, and I love how they are setting up like, hey, here's the things that is gonna come next. Like, oh, next time, part 2, watch this. I definitely love that they're doing that, so we know it is coming. It's just, damn, it's a slow burn. The rest of the episode was focused around 𝐒𝐴𝐵𝐵 and 𝐒𝐵𝐵𝐵, and damn, what's her name? Miki, Maki. Jesus, names are hard, guys. It's hard to remember names when you cover so many damn anime. But Maki is encouraging 𝐒𝐴𝐵𝐵 to go and confess to 𝐒𝐵𝐵𝐵. As he was doing it, she was basically making herself almost like cry because of her crush that she has on her friend's boyfriend, essentially. And every time she would encourage him, she would break herself down. But I do love the little hint that Maki did leave for us, which was, hey, if you go and fail with 𝐒𝐵𝐵𝐵, I'll go do, I'll go with you, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, that's cute. As crazy bipolar girl might work out better for 𝐒𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐵. And then he also has the secretary girl from student council as well. I forgot what her name is. You guys will tell me in the comments. But there's also, so he has a couple of options, but I like that he's able to be himself, and I like that he's able to, not flawlessly, but, naturally communicate with Maki. Even though she's not, definitely not his first pick. But when he communicates with 𝐒𝐵𝐵𝐵, he's a freaking mess. But, he did pull it off, and they did go down to the horror stuff. So I know next week's episode, we're going to get more of that. Overall, really good episode. Just, I'm ready. I'm ready for this confession. I'm more than ready already. So that's my major point and my major gripe so far about the anime. But overall, really good episode. Let me know what you thought about this episode down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the flashback, the inevitable confession, the tension being built. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. And as always, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Have a good Friday. Have a good rest of your weekend. Or whatever day you're watching this. Have a good one. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.